Otis like frickin' Pootis, dude. It's safe to say this guy has become the talk of the town if you've been in the FNAF community for really any period of time recently. With a moderately popular YouTube channel, where he would make animations and reviews, to making the most beloved FNAF fangame of 2022, it wouldn't be a lie to say this guy has certainly made a name for himself creating some of the most quality content in the community. And it's kind of funny saying that, because he's only released a singular fangame. Sure, he started working on a bunch of fangames, including the highly anticipated Bondee's 2 Roots, along with a remake of the iconic, famous, and the greatest fangame of all time, Diggidy's, but the only released material we've gotten in the last 3 years is Bondeesbarnyard safety violation. So, in the spirit of long-awaited videos, let's boot up the original game that started it all, just to see why the internet made such a fuss over it. Oh, God forbid, the game isn't even good. I should preface this by saying that around the time this game was released, I was actually buddies with Pootis. So, whilst I'll try and be as unbiased as possible, there's still going to be some level of bias in there, because I think he's a cool ass dude. Hell, I even got an early dev build of the game a month away from release. However, I forgot to report any bugs I had, or any notes, and so I never made it to the credits. Man, life sucks, and God is dead because I didn't make it into the Bondeesbarnyard credits. In all seriousness, I have good memories with this fangame. So, let's hope its quality was actually good, or if it's an overhyped game with absolutely no source. Let's boot this game up, shall we? Rightio, so straight away this menu looks good. It's not the make or break of a fangame, but I do think a good menu can establish a competent tone for a game, and this menu does it amicably. It's not like Jesus H Christ or anything, but it gets the job done. Also, something of note here is the music. I like it. Gives me serious Sister Location vibes. Leon Riskin's music has always been one of my favorite parts of that game, so I'm happy to see something along the same lines for the menu. Don't worry, music fans, I do have a small bit to add when it comes to the music, but I'll get to that when I get to that. It's my review and I'll format it however I like. We press the new game button and we're shown an opening cutscene. It's not like something huge for FNAF fangames, but man, it's a really nice addition, with Otis's voice acting on full display. We're hearing a conversation between who I can only assume to be the owner of Bondeesbarnyards, and presumably a news reporter of some type, or maybe like a vice president, I don't know. Someone is talking to the CEO of Bondeesbarnyards, man. But Otis plays both roles, and unironically, I feel like they are two separate characters, whilst still having a similar voice. One thing I always liked about Otis's voice acting is that he doesn't really try to change his voice too much so that it's recognizably him, but he uses different inflections and tones in the voice. It conveys that it is indeed a separate person, whilst still having this vibe that I really dig in the game, where every character kind of sounds similar. It's kind of cute, it's neat. After the cutscene, we are flung into the opening news report, which features mention of a missing child. Yeah, that's probably us. It should ring a bell to you though. I actually interviewed Pootis a few years back, and on the topic of similarities, he explained that Bondees was born out of security breach. Like most of us, he didn't quite click with the game, and unlike most of us, he went out of his way to make the game he would have liked. And man, I can respect the guy's grind. Dude made an entire game from the concept of a game that he thought had squandered potential. It's very nice stuff. And without further ado, let's actually play the game. I'm nearly 1,000 words into this script, and I haven't even discussed the main portion of the game. What is wrong with me? Okay, so right off the bat, this genuinely looks really good. Compared to the beta build I was handed a month before this game's release, this is definitely a step up for sure. Just out of respect, I'm not going to show it off since I'm not sure Pootis' thoughts on that, and I'm a bit too nervous to outright ask the guy myself. I have barely spoken to him in like 2 years, give me a break, man. But visually, this game is a treat. It's definitely one of my favourite looking fangames for sure. The building and set design definitely emits an aura of FNAF 2 for me, with its vivid and bright colours drenched in loud lights. But atmosphere-wise, it rings a lot closer to FNAF 1 or 3 than any of the other games, which in my opinion is a good thing, as those two were always my favourite when it came to building an atmosphere. The design of the room you're in is also well decorated. On either side of you are 2 massive doors where the animatronics will encroach on your position. in an attempt to kill you. For a moment, I was half confused on why these animatronics designed to keep kids safe were trying to beat you to a bloody pulp, before I remembered the title, Safety Violation. They probably suspected you're an intruder, and with the opening mentioning that the animatronics aren't strong enough to harm an adult, but instead a child, that's just some razor-sharp script writing that you don't really see in any of these fan games. It is really goddamn impressive, as someone who writes stories and such pretty frequently. So, let's get into the meat of the game, the bread and butter if you will, the dare I say, meat and potatoes of the game. The gameplay, it's really good. Now, from a first glance, it's not really going to blow anyone away. Now, as mentioned before, you're situated in a specific region for an extended period of time, warding off animatronics by using 2 doors located on either side of you. Now, for starters, this game has a leg up on every other FNAF clone by having logic that actually makes a whole lot more sense. The major player in this is the removal of the power system used by a lot of FNAF clones. Instead, it's replaced by an oxygen system. I mean, just realism-wise, it makes a whole lot more sense. I mean, oxygen? I mean, come on, that's the thing we all need. You see, to live on this godforsaken rock, you need to actually, breathe, and not doing so will cause you to die. And this is a pretty sensitive thing. I tested it out by holding both doors shut, and I died within a minute or so. I also really like the death animation. It's pretty neat, but I'll get to the animation in a moment. Just let me discuss the gameplay some more. Cool? Yeah? Nice. And the gameplay does a good job at telling you what you need to do without shoving too much in your face, though I will say the tooltips for the doors were a little bit unnecessary. I get you want this to be pretty easy for the first night, but most people who are playing this game are FNAF fans, and they understand how it would work. And for those like me who are a tad oblivious, well, you do have mention of training tapes. Why not just play a longer one at hour 1, which is something along the lines of, "As of June 2003, we have installed these new locking doors which no longer take power and have a light bulb on the outside that are activated when a person is detected nearby." I just think it would be less in your face for those with dyslexia or ADHD. Like me. I just think it would be a bit easier to digest. I did still manage to make it through hour 1 of the game though, which was nice. I thought the difficulty was easy at times since the night guard didn't really check up on me as regularly as I thought they probably should have. I don't know, I feel like the difficulty could have been made slightly harder. I don't know, man. I feel like the difficulty could have been tweaked to be slightly harder, but in fairness, as the game does continue, it does ramp up to a state where I don't think it would be anywhere near as fun if it were as challenging. So maybe I'm just being a picky eater here. Who knows? Oh yeah, and before I forget, yeah, the night guard is a pretty key aspect of the game that comes into play starting on the very first night. The mechanic is relatively simple. Touch a thing or else you'll die, because he's probably also warding off the animatronics. I do have to wonder why he never gets confused on why the robots are legging it to some random room. Now that I think about it, I don't recall if that was ever explained why there were doors installed on this random room in the establishment. I don't know, my memory is just sucking, maybe. Who knows? Visuals are an important part of any fan game, though a lot of the time I find them to be pretty mediocre, with only a few exceptions for genuinely great looking fan games. And, as stated earlier, this game is indeed one of them. It's slightly nuts how good this game looks, considering from what I've been able to scour down, Bondees was the first major project Otis used Blender in, which is really cool considering how far the guy has come, with him even opening up commissions for 3D models. You can tell we're really getting into the nitty gritty of the review because I'm using his first name like a disappointed mother. One detail I always got a kick out of was the lighting. Now, it's already pretty cool looking with the dim room illuminated by these beautiful turquoise lights filling up the room. It gives this very bleak and cold feeling. It honestly reminds me of the icy landscapes from John Carpenter's The Thing. I don't at all think it was deliberate, I just really liked that movie and I thought it gave an isolated vibe to the whole game. It was very nice. But the lighting gets downright impressive when you use the door lights, as these flares will partially blind your vision. It's a really neat piece of camera trickery. I just love stuff like this in fan games, man. The game is made in ClickTeam after all. It's just really goddamn impressive seeing someone use these real nifty tricks to help give the illusion of a real lived-in space. It's very nice. Okay, so we make it to the end of the hour, and we have a post-hour minigame. I think it's closer to a cutscene than a minigame, but lo and behold, we do have the ability to interact with these options. As far as I'm aware, they don't really change anything, but interaction is always fun either way. One thing I always liked is the drawings. I knew Pootis around the time of this game being developed, and the thing that he was kind of known for then was both his reviews and also his neat little drawings that he had on the reviews, and they are on full display with this game. Look at this little guy. I want to give him a big ass hug. Oh god! Yeah, turns out this game is actually really scary. What the fuck, Knuckles? Yeah, one problem I have with most fan games is that they prioritize their dumbass shitty FNAF fanfic ass story over any actual in-game horror. Bondees is the my god, my ex is messaging me, man. I got Bondees to talk about, man. Bondees is the antithesis. There's a story in here, but the focus is actually on the gameplay, the mechanics, and the visuals, and of course, the scares. I won't act like it's friggin' The Shining or something, but god damn did this game spook me a few times. I think what helps is the uncanny models. It puts Otis's lack of skill when it comes to modeling these mofos and turns it into a strength with them looking pretty uncanny at points. It's very nice. Now the final thing I want to talk about before I wrap this diddly darn fucking ass spunk review up, the music and the sound design. Oh boy, have I got so much to talk about. In all seriousness, I'm not much of a music or sound design guy, so I'm gonna tell you all my thoughts in like 2 lines of my script. I didn't really write much, sorry Mr. Pep. My opinion is either gonna be this is good or this is bad, and well, I think it's good. It's really well made, the ambience has a lot of tension in it, and the credits are really goddamn catchy. They're stuck in my head. Oh. And that is Bondeesbarnyard. So class, what do we think? I genuinely think Bondees might be one of my favorite fan games ever, which is pretty sad considering this is the first real one in this series. So it all goes downhill from here, folks. But I kid. One of the problems I have with a lot of fan games is that they tend to try and emulate Scott's signature style, and they all feel like they fall a little bit short. And Pootis doesn't try to do this. He respects that you've played 101 FNAF fan games that all feel and play like cheap imitations, and instead branches off into trying something new style-wise. He respects the style Scott created for himself and tries to build his own instead. And I think that makes Bondees far more unique than most FNAF fan games, with a few exceptions of course. Maybe that's why the game caught on so much, because of the respect it not only pays to you, the player, but also Scott himself. So from now on, I want to start a list of every FNAF fan game I review on this channel, in a list of sorts, ranking them from worst to best. And since Bondees is the only fan game I've played, by virtue, it's the best fan game ever made now. Because obviously, my list is objective, and I am never wrong. There's so much to unpack with Bondees, and it feels like I've barely scratched the surface of the topic. But man, Bondees is such a fantastic fan game. One clearly crafted from love for the series that it originates from, whilst being able to show a critical eye and tweak things that aren't the greatest. Add this with the original art style, fantastic soundtrack by Mr. Pep, sound design that I think is by Mr. Pep, but don't quote me on that. It really goes a lot further than most fan games do, and yeah, it's not hard to see why this became such a smash hit in the FNAF fan game scene. Yeah, well, wasn't that fun? I'm just gonna have to root myself into the ground until Bondees 2 releases. I'm sure that won't take long. Dun 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 dun! dun. Okay, so maybe that was a little bit of a bad idea.